Hi, so what I want to do today is I want to do a brief subjective assessment of the 4 different rounds I use for 50 Action Express. This was based really on what was available during the ammo shortage of the last few years, but these are only the decent brands. They're not the crummy brands, the cheap brands. So these are all the good brands, and I don't have any speed tests on them. I don't have the luxury of living in Tennessee and having a large yard where I could shoot things with them. But I just wanted to give my impressions on these 4 different brands and impressions at the range, we'll say. Okay, so starting with this brand here, this is Magnum Research brand, and I don't know if you can see here, but the Magnum Research brand comes in the same packaging as the Hornady brand, and oddly enough, the boxes look similar. The Hornady and the Magnum Research, they look suspiciously the same. They even have the Hornady brass stamping in the 58E. But essentially they look and shoot like the same round. They're both 300 grain, and they're both rated at feet per second. It's a pretty hot round compared to the cheaper rounds. I did notice that the Hornady brand, maybe it's my imagination, but the Hornady brand seems to have quite a bit more flame to it. Not that it matters, but it just it seems like they're not hotter, but it seems like they're using a slightly different powder. But it could be my imagination, because as you could see, they look exactly the same. The other brand that's really good, I think, and mind you, none of these have cycling issues. They're very hot rounds. It's all relative, this is just within the 50 Action Express, which even the crummiest 50 Action Express has quite a bit of recoil. So the 2 Underwoods here, essentially they're the same specs. They're both 300 grain, and they're both 1,580 feet per second. They're extremely hot. And one's a full metal jacket at that specs, and the other is the bonded jacketed hollow point. So you got the bonded jacketed hollow point and the full metal jacket. They have both the same specs as far as, again, the 300 grain. They're both 300 grain. They're both 1,580 feet per second. There's not much, not that it matters, but there's not a whole lot of flame that emits out of these. There's some, but the recoil on these is really stout. I mean, these things really snap, okay? And that's as good as word as I could come up with, is they're snappy. Again, it's all relative. These are all really, really powerful rounds. So, but these are pretty hot. These 1,580 feet per second with a 300 grain bullet is quite a bit hotter than the Hornady's, and they cycle fine. Everything works. Everything's good. The fourth type is the Magnum Research brand, same as this brand. Okay, it's Magnum Research, and these are quite a bit different. These are 350 grain jacketed soft points. Okay, 350 grain, and I believe they're rated at about 1,410 feet per second. I didn't do the energy calculation on them, but these things are massive. I mean, 350 grain, and they're pretty hot, obviously. These give quite a, in my opinion, quite a noticeable push to the recoil. It's probably due to the fact that it's 50 grains heavier than these, but it's all kind of subjective, because once again, this isn't like you're shooting 9 millimeters or even 10 millimeter. or even 44 mag. These if you shoot them, they're kind of in their own league here. So this is just relative to each other. So that's my short, brief impressions. If you want a lot of flame for good video, I would say the Hornadys are good. If you want a snappy recoil, these are good, and these are the 350 grain. Again, I shoot at a range, I shoot at paper targets. It's really hard to get an assessment on what the output is on these. It's just basically subjective feel. So that's it. These different types I use, they're all about the same price. I don't know what that might be, depending on what month it is, but they're all the relative price. I paid a lot during the shortage, but now the price is pretty much back to normal. Normal meaning probably $2 around, $2.50 around, maybe $2, $2.50 around, and that's it. So I guess buy whatever you can find and whatever you want to use it for. If you have the luxury of shooting outdoors at a target, I'm kind of curious to what these do as far as, you know, shooting melons and things and blowing things up. But again, I don't have that luxury. So thanks again. Thanks for watching.